Good morning. Welcome to Bitcoin Bounce. My name is Joseph, and today I'm here with Dion. So today we're looking at the altcoins that the big whales are buying right now. We're going to go through the top 5 crypto altcoin buying companies and just look at different lists and analyses of what they are actually buying. Now, before we get into this video, I just want to say this is a segment from a clip that was released by Crypto Banter. I love Crypto Banter. They put out really good information. I also love Sheldon. He does the trades, and then you have the news and also long terms, and then also the gaming coins. Dion, if you would stock up on anything other than Bitcoin and Ethereum, what would you buy right now if you have a limited amount of coins that you have to buy?
Joseph, at the moment, the coins that are really down from very high levels, so great potential, is Link and Theta and ADA are the ones that I really love at the moment, and they're all great projects.
Yeah, I agree. There's a tremendous amount of Ethereum that's being bought right now, but people are not buying ADA. But the fundamentals of ADA at this stage of the game is almost better than the Ethereum fundamentals. But people are not buying ADA, and I think it's gonna click, and then you're just gonna see ADA fly. So I agree with all those coins. Link also, it's really good coins. Okay, guys, you're probably gonna want to get your paper and your pen out. This is quite a long list of coins that we're gonna go through. So I'm gonna go ahead and play you this clip right now.
So the first thing I want to do is go through the top 5 crypto funds and establish what projects they actually hold. The biggest crypto fund at the moment is Paradigm, which was a fund launched in 2018 by Coinbase founder Fred Ersham and former Sequoia partner Matt Huang. The only Web3 fund on this list whose founders are both alums from the 2 other firms featured in the top 10. Their portfolio includes 15 unicorns, which means projects that have reached over $1 billion worth of a market cap, over 10 of the industry's top liquid and non-liquid names, including Coinbase, Uniswap, Compound, Cosmos, and Fireblocks. The next biggest VC that we are going to take a look at in a minute, we'll look through their portfolios, is A16Z. We all know Andreessen Horowitz, or A16, because it's not just a Web3 behemoth. It actually started in traditional finance and focusing on emerging technology and investing in the emerging technology landscape. So the founder, Marc Andreessen, is the author of Mosaic, the world's first internet web browser, inventing the modern internet. The firm has moved much of its focus to the crypto landscape, with Web3 lead Chris Dixon as emerging as number 1 on the Forbes Midas list in 2022. They raised a whopping $4.5 billion crypto-focused fund in May 2022, in addition to a $5 billion growth fund in January 2022. Now, they are an example of a VC fund that has launched in emerging tech and has recently started to dabble in crypto and has been able to penetrate the market in a big way because they have a big budget and they have come into the crypto market ready to go and ready to roll. And they have extreme conviction in crypto itself, and that's one of the main reasons they have been penetrating the market. Some of their investments include, and as I said, we'll get through their full portfolios in a minute after we brief the top 5, Anchorage, Dapper Labs, Coinbase, OpenSea, Layer Zero, Yuga Labs, Phantom, and many others. Number 3 is Pantera Capital, which were founded in 2013, and they are one of the first institutional-grade crypto asset managers in the industry. They have 5 unique funds, trading both in liquid assets as a registered hedge fund and private companies from seed growth. Pantera's capital has backed many of the industry's most defining projects. Some of these projects are XRP. They actually invested in Ripple's seed round, writing the first $1.4 million check in 2013, and since then, they've invested in other major seed rounds. For example, Near Protocol. They are also one of the biggest VCs. Fourth, we don't really need to speak much about these guys. It's Coinbase, obviously the biggest crypto exchange. They launched their venture firm. They have a lot of connections in the industry. They have big and deep pockets as well to invest, and they have a diverse portfolio of assets as well, including many of the crypto infrastructure projects like Coinmetrics, Masari, who will look through the data on Masari today, Flipside Crypto, June, Nance, and CoinTracker. They're very invested in the infrastructure, which is quite interesting because that is a very high upside play if you're a crypto VC, because in the future, the more people that use crypto, the more people that are going to need wallets, the more people that are going to need all these sorts of things like the bridges, etc., that aren't just token specific. And number 5 is Polychain Capital, which has recently entered the top 5, and that was founded in 2016 by Olaf Carlson Wee, the first employee at Coinbase, and then seeded by A16Z, Pantera, and Union Square Ventures. So it's very interesting. They are funded by multiple other VCs. Currently, their portfolio has invested in many success stories, including seed rounds in Polkadot, DYDX, Starkware, Compound, Avalanche, Solana, Maple Finance, and more. Solana was a differentiating factor for Polychain Capital back in the day in 2018. So let's get onto the list of the top VCs and start to have a more in-depth look. So we could see Paradigm, as per the previous article, comes in number 1. A16 comes in number 2. Pantera comes in number 3. Then we got Coinbase, Polychain, Dragonfly, Sequoia, Variant, Electric, and Multicoin. Obviously, we have Hasib and Avichal at Dragonfly and Electric as well, who we know quite well as friends of Crypto Banter. And then, you've got Alameda Research down the list, which is SBF, Andreessen Horowitz at number 2. So we have a lot of big, prominent VCs in the space in this top 10. Now it's time to go through their portfolios and have a look at what they're actually holding and see what the most commonly held assets are, because I believe we can learn a lot by looking at the assets of individual VCs to work out what trends that they are currently backing. So Paradigm coming in at number 1. I'm going to do my little trick here and use Google Finder to find their portfolio. So Paradigm, we can see the list of their investments, and we can see which date they invested, how much yield they've made, and the profit they've made as well. Obviously, not all information is public, but we've done our best to condense the projects that these funds actually own. So we can see Paradigm, the biggest VC, they own Uniswap, which is the main DEX on Ethereum. They own FTX, which is obviously the exchange. You get that exchange trade growth from SBF. You're basically betting on SBF through FTX. You've got Osmosis, which is very interesting. The chain and the DEX that was on Cosmos, Gitcoin, Parallel, Jet, Lido DAO, liquid staking, okay, Axie Infinity, so some gaming exposure, Synthetics Network, derivatives exposure, quite a well-diversified portfolio there of assets. Let's look at number 2, which is A16. So if we just search A16 and see Andreessen Horowitz's portfolio. Now, theirs is what I would consider a little bit more. They focus a lot on kind of like the upcoming and emerging tech, but they do own projects like Uniswap. So that's a common denominator across number 1 and number 2. They both hold Uniswap. Second comes in as Solana. Solana is held by many of the top VCs. Then they have Helium Network, which is an Internet of Things play. Then CeLo, DYDX, which are building their own chain on Cosmos. They are a perpetualized DEX exchange. Then you have Near Protocol. We all know what Near does. And then they also hold Axie. They also hold Flow, which is the NFT blockchain, Goldfinch, and a few other Yield Guild games is interesting as well. That's a gaming guild. So a few crossovers there between them. Next, we can look at Pantera. Pantera is the number 3 ranked VC. They are big on Injective, and to this date, they are still big on Terra because they were one of the major investors in Terra. Unfortunately, we are going to see a lag in some of this data, so Terra will still show up in the portfolio holdings, even though obviously it shouldn't be now. Injective is one of their major investments. Injective Protocol is very interesting. They're going for the kind of cross-chain asset swaps, kind of like what Thorchain's doing, but also like integrating their own L1. Very interesting project, great tokenomics. I don't really have too much of an opinion on the project itself at the moment, though. So Injective is obviously one of their main investments. Lithium Finance, Decentralized Social, Gemini, Aurora. That's interesting. That's the EVM-compatible L1 on Near. So we're starting to see some similarities cross over between these VCs, but they have some interesting ones, namely BitDAO, Balancer, which is the Ethereum DEX, which allows you to LP multiple tokens at once, like Beethoven. Injective Protocol, very interesting as well. Apollo DAO. Number 4, Coinbase Ventures. And we are going to compare this on a graph afterwards, by the way. I just kind of want to go through and have a look at their portfolios raw before we break down the data of what is the most commonly held. And then we'll get into that. The graph, an indexing protocol, one of the most interesting projects in crypto, the FTX token as well. So there's a crossover between a few of the top 3 holding FTX, Lido DAO as well. Many of these top VCs hold Lido. Interestingly, though, these guys hold some DOT exposure through Moonbeam, which Moonbeam is one of the L1s built on Polkadot that won the second parachain auction slot on DOT. You've got Synthetics Network, which is derivatives. A few pretty cool projects here. Ribbon Finance, kind of like a real yield project. Rarible, Certic, which is an auditor. So we're starting to see a slightly larger portfolio from Coinbase. One of the caveats I would say, though, is not just because a VC owns a project doesn't necessarily mean it's a good project, because oftentimes they get in very early in the seed round, so that it makes sense for them to invest in many projects, irrespective of what they think of it as a long-term hold. But it is important to still identify crossovers here. And last one we'll look at is Dragonfly, which holds Near Protocol, Lido DAO again, so a crossover there. BitDAO, but they also have significant exposure to the Avalanche ecosystem, also more exposure to the Near ecosystem through the EVM chain Aurora, Gelato Finance, Arc Governance, Cypher as well. Don't know too much about Cypher, but we can see their portfolio here as well. So what trends can we take from looking through those VCs? Because this is the most important thing, right? We can just run through lists of portfolios, but it is important to look at what are the most commonly held assets, what sectors are these VCs investing in, and what can that tell us about the trends that we can see from these VCs. So this is one of the most important graphics in crypto, in my opinion, and this is the top assets held across crypto-focused fund portfolios. This is for the first half of 22, so this is relatively new data. We'll get the second half of 22 later in December. Currently, this is the most up-to-date data on the fund management that we have. Number one is Polkadot, which is interesting because it's a project we don't hear being talked about too readily these days for some reason on social media. The hype's kind of died down for it, but honestly, it still is one of the best interoperability plays in my opinion. So it's a very, it's an interesting project. You've kind of got DOT and Atom in that category. DOT is going after a slightly different angle to Atom, which has the Cosmos Hub and Tendermint, etc. You've got Oasis Network number two. Very interesting to see a privacy-focused L1 coming in at number two. Oasis Network has that Meta partnership. They're a privacy-focused blockchain. Once again, if you are going for the privacy blockchains, you've got a few options. You've got Secret Network built on Cosmos. Obviously, you've got Oasis. You also have A0, which is another privacy-focused L1. You've got Monero and a couple other projects as well, but I'd say those are the top three. And whenever I invest in kind of a sector, I like to split up my investment across multiple projects. So either you can pick the best or you can split it up across multiple projects in that sector, but Oasis clearly the favored one. Nervous Network is probably the most interesting outlier out of this whole list. I don't know too much about Nervous, but it's clearly a project that's held by many of the major VCs. That's probably something we have to look into and do a little bit more research on. Coming in at number 4 is DYDX. We know what DYDX is. It's similar to GMX. It's a perpetualized DEX exchange. And this is very interesting because they are getting their own chain on Cosmos. You guys know they were launched on Arbitrum. Now they are deciding that they want to use their own chain, get away from EVM, and I think that opens up a world of possibilities for DYDX. I think of DYDX as a very high upside play in the sense that they have a very big ambition. Whether they can fulfill that ambition is another question, but nonetheless, it definitely becomes a very interesting project, considering the goal they're going after. You've got Radical at number 5, then you've got Near Protocol at number 6, many VCs taking big bets on Near. Avalanche coming in at number 7. We all know a lot about Avalanche. I don't need to explain too much to you about AVAX. Then we've got Mina at number 8. Mina is considered the world's lightest blockchain. So it's going after being very efficient, very quick. We got Filecoin coming in next, which is a storage play. In terms of storage plays, you've also got Arweave, but Arweave goes after a permanent model. Filecoin goes after a subscription reoccurring AWS model. And then you've got a few others here. Akala, interestingly, the Polkadot parachain coming in the top 10 or just outside the top 10. ICP as well, which I personally don't like ICP, but it still is a project that many VCs invested in. So quite interesting here to see the current snapshot of what the top VCs are holding. Gives us a little bit of a sneak peek into what trends are starting to show themselves. Now we can see the top circulating market caps across crypto-focused fund portfolios. So this is if we weight those holdings in terms of market cap, we can see that it becomes Solana at number 1, then DOT at number 2, AVAX at number 3, Uni, FTT, Near, and Atom. So interesting, Solana coming in at number 1. Makes sense considering Solana was a project that a lot of VCs invested in the seed round, but it's also interesting to note that if we look at the top 10 cryptos currently, also having a little bit of a green day here, which is good. Some tokens slightly down on the daily, but a good hourly candle. It's interesting because Solana's number 9, but the VCs prefer to hold Sol over ADA, BNB, and Ethereum, which is quite interesting to me, and XRP as well. Partly that's because many of these VCs didn't get access to or weren't around when the XRP seed rounds were in 2013, Ethereum 2017. But it's still interesting that as a raw holding, Solana comes in at number 1 and then DOT number 2. Many VCs are very confident in Solana. Most VCs actually hold Solana. If you look through the projects they actually hold here, a lot of VCs hold Solana. And if you talk to them, like I know Dan Moorhead is a huge fan, and many of these other VCs are huge fans of Sol as well. And then if we look at the breakdown, so not just the tokens, but actually the sectors, this can give us an idea as to where VCs are thinking in terms of what narratives and trends will be big in the future. Interesting to see DEXs coming in at 16% now. I know DYDX counts as a DEX, but DEXs are one of the major and the second major holdings of VCs. Smart contract platforms comes in at 37%. That makes a lot of sense to me, considering L1s, you're getting exposure to a lot of the projects built underneath them. If you want to bet on the raw ecosystems, well, it makes sense to concentrate capital in L1s. That's something that as a personal investor you can do yourself. Something a lot of VCs also like to do in terms of gearing where they invest capital. Fast storage at 5%, lending at 9%. Then we have a few smaller narratives here. Interoperability 2%. I would say they're putting DOT and Atom as a smart contract platform, although they kind of tie into the interoperability narrative too. You've got derivatives as well. I think this is underweight personally because I think derivatives have a huge scope for growth. You've got synthetics, you've got Dopex, a few other projects that are offering derivatives products. But derivatives is a multi-quadrillion dollar market. So if you want to capture upside to TradFi, then derivatives in crypto is definitely one of the top narratives I think in the future that we have to pay attention to. So that's slightly underweight for my liking, but I like how highly weighted the DEX narrative is, and I think they would include DYDX there just because decentralized exchanges really underpin the future crypto economy. The more users we have, the more people that are going to need to swap assets, the more people that are going to need to provide liquidity to facilitate swaps. And I just see a huge need for DEXs in the future.
So Dion, what's interesting from this clip that we just watched is that Polkadot is the number 1 altcoin that's being bought right now by these whales. So why do you think they're buying Polkadot?
It's also just a fantastic project. It's been around for so long, and also just so much good news, good projects, good relationships with other developers. It's just a fantastic coin as well. Yeah, I personally just think ADA is a better bet, but gee whiz, I think they're much of a muchness. Yeah, it's an awesome project, yes.
Yeah, what's sad about Polkadot, during the previous bull run in 2020, Polkadot was doing a lot of upgrades and they were just not ready for the market yet. So although a lot of people bought Polkadot with a lot of expectation, it couldn't really move because it wasn't ready. They're ready now though. So that's why, a lot of analysts reckon Polkadot is just going to soar during this next bull run because they are ready for all the new customers and the applications that coin is built for.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Well, guys, I trust you found this very interesting. So remember, when we buy our Bitcoin, what we do, we take a big percentage of our trades and we buy Bitcoin with it, maybe even as much as 40%. And then we probably take another big portion of our money and we buy Ethereum, because those two coins are very solid. They're probably going to be around in 10 years from now, still where we are now. And then we take a smaller percentage of our coins and then we buy the coins. Now, if you go on CoinMarketCap, you'll see they actually list the coins from the coins with the biggest volumes and money behind it, and it goes down and down to the lower. So probably right now, the very small coins is probably not a good time to buy them. You first want to start seeing the bigger coins going up along with Bitcoin and Ethereum, and then you can start buying all the really small coins, that's got the 5 and a 10x potential in it. Hey, thank you, Dion. It was a good day today. All of the best with your non-farm payroll trading. I don't know if you're gonna trade it. I'm definitely already got a few DCA bots that I'm running for non-farm payrolls, and I hope I'm gonna make a little bit of extra money today. You know, volatility is always wonderful, and it's nice to come at the end of the day and see your account has grown with a few percentage points.
Yeah, I don't trade it. It's too dangerous to do my single trades because you never know what's going to happen. But the way you're trading it is fantastic. That you're hoping for a good spike. You've got a few entry levels. That's the only safe way to trade it. Yeah, so you're going to do well today, I'm sure.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, guys. Thank you. We're gonna be back again on Monday. Thank you, Dion. Have a nice weekend.
Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend. See you too Monday.